Most of you watching this will know who we are, but for those who don't, we're Malcolm and Ghyslaine Jones, and we're part of the mission steering group at Community Church Rochford. And we've been asked to make this video on how we came to be involved in mission and why we are passionate about missions. And our story starts with an organization called Operation Mobilization, and this is going back quite a long way. OM, as it's known, came to Europe in the early 60s with a very radical challenge to young people to give up their summer holidays, to go to other countries in Europe, mainly, to experience short-term mission in a context which was safe and with good leadership, and learning about the life of faith, learning about world mission, and seeking to be a stepping stone into longer term mission. And we're going to share how we became involved in that and what we learned from it. So Ghyslaine is going to say a bit about how she joined.
A few years after my conversion to Jesus, I was in a church in Strasbourg, which is in the east of France. And one day, a group of young people from this organization, Operation Mobilization, came to our church and shared a little bit the work, what they do. And at the end, they invited a few of young people to join this organization for a year or two. To really serve the Lord and share the gospel to people in different parts of France.
Yes, my experience was similar, but I was brought up in a Christian family, became a Christian at an early age. I was a student and fairly comfortable in my Christian life, but some of the students that I met had been on OM, and there were meetings that were being held, and somebody put these explanatory booklets into my hand, and I soon realized from reading this that this was something radically different from what I was experiencing. First of all, it was saying that we would actually be trusting God for our material needs, for our food and money to live for a month, and most of us anyway, as poor students, couldn't afford a month's holiday on the continent with traveling included. But one of the principles was that we would all be willing to sacrifice our comforts in order to achieve a certain goal. I soon realized what this meant as we had our sort of opening conference in a disused factory in Belgium, sleeping on the floor, washing with cold water. And I remember waking up on the first morning thinking, what on earth have I got myself into? But soon the messages that were given during that week's introduction by George Verwer and others convinced me that this was the sort of dedication that would be required to reach the world for Jesus Christ. And it was during that first month that I had the experience of actually receiving a gift of money from somebody for my needs in answer to prayer, because we weren't allowed to actually ask people, and that was quite an experience.
So me too, after really praying and thinking and talking, with people in my church, I decided that really I will join Operation Mobilization. I had at the time a job. I was a secretary. I had a flat, and so I had to give that up and trust God for the needs that I will have, because of course I had a salary, but with OM we didn't have any salary. So for me it was really a step of faith to be able to trust God in that situation. And so I joined Operation Mobilization, and as Malcolm said, I went to a month of conference in Belgium, and after this month, I was asked to go to a town called Fontenay-sous-Bois, which is near Paris, And this is where, we stayed, and I was a secretary there, that to carry on my job. And, we lived with different young people coming from different country, different nationality, different background, different denomination. So at the beginning, it was quite hard and difficult. I was a little bit, frustrated, and sometimes I wanted even to run away. But at the end, I decided that really, it's for my good, that God wanted to really prepare me and help me and show me something. So uh, gradually, it becomes really different. And I really enjoy the fact that really, particularly the life of prayer, we really, put a great emphasis on praying, and that really spoke to me. And the fact that really God provided for my needs, and we sometimes had to go to other part of France, and we had to really go door to door, sell books, Bible, and the money that we had helped us to buy the food and to live. And sometimes we didn't have enough money, so we didn't have enough food. But it's really, all together, we were really helping each other and carry on trusting in the Lord.
Yes, one of the main principles of OM was and is the importance of prayer and having a vision for the whole world. And a main feature of those times that we spent both in the conferences and also out in the teams was the night of prayer. And we would often, particularly at the conferences, have people coming from different countries telling us firsthand of their own experiences. And we were focusing on the places where the church was weakest. And from that time, we've always had this vision for the world, a vision to reach the world. Jesus sent his disciples into the whole world. I mean, obviously not everyone, no individual person can go to the whole world, but we can all have a world vision, and we can all make our lives count towards reaching the world for Jesus Christ through our prayer and through giving and facilitating the sending of people on into mission. Another principle, of course, was the living a simple lifestyle.
Yes.
Do you want to say something about that?
Yes, I mean, we really lived a simple lifestyle. Food was really really basic, and we had lots of peanut butter, marmite, rice, not a lot of meat, and we had each a task. And each girls in a team every weekend was responsible to prepare the food for the weekend. So that was quite something that really helped me to be able to serve others, and to be able to really consider one another. And we learn a lot, and I learned a lot there. And sometimes, okay, there was difficult time, but I really wanted to carry on, be able to learn through the Bible, learn through the prayer time that we had. So at the end of the year, because it was just 1 year that I decided to stay, my employee in where I lived said that I could come back to the job the year after. But after a year, I thought I haven't really learned enough. I wanted to stay another year. So of course I went to see my employer, and I told him that really I will not come back to work, but I will go back to the OM, to the organization, do a second year. And it's during the second year that really, we started, Malcolm and myself, because we were in the same team, of course. I was his secretary, he was my boss. So we decided to go out together. And I think after a year, probably after a year, we married.
Yes, at least a year.
Yes,
Yeah,
after
yes.
a year,
Yes.
we married, and we stayed in the same place, Fontenay-sous-Bois. And of course, we had our 3 children there. The 3 of them were born in Paris, Laura, Claire, and Adrienne. And we stayed together as married couple with our children for 11 years in this place near Paris.
That's how OM became known as Operation Matrimony. Many couples met in that situation. We were 11 years, 10 years in Ghislaine's case in the work in France, and after that we accepted a challenge to go to Quebec in Canada to set up an office and a work in the French language in Canada, which already had an English-speaking office. And the church in Quebec was much smaller than in the rest of Canada, but it was a growing work, and it was very exciting to be involved with that. When we arrived there, our contact said, well, you need to be involved in a local church somewhere, and they recommended a place which was part of a group of churches which had been recently then started by a man called Bill Wojtowski, an American from the USA, and there were 7 little churches. And I remember that first Sunday we knocked on the door. It was in a big house called La Grande Maison in French, the big house. And I said, "It's Bill Wojtowski." I said to the man running the door, and he said, "C'est moi, Bill. It's I am Bill." And that was actually his last Sunday there, because he was going back to the United States, leaving those churches in local leadership. And we had a great welcome there, and both he and the church there had a sense in which that they needed more experienced people, and that we were able to meet that need. And of course that is how we got much more involved in the local church, and seeing the importance of the local church as part of this vision for the whole world, and planting churches. And of course we learned a lot in that situation, and you also had some experiences, didn't you?
Yes, I mean, as Malcolm said, it was a really mixture. There was lots of different, it was mainly young people. They were all younger than both of us.
Yes, yeah.
But there were people who really had a difficult background in drugs, alcohol, smoking, and all that. And so it was quite a challenge. And but they were at the same time very welcoming and very caring. But at the beginning, it was a little bit hard, particularly in my experience, when I wanted to know the ladies. And I was there with a group, and they were very silent, very distant. And I thought, that's strange. So, but anyway, I went back home, and after a few days, one lady phoned me just to talk about different things. And so I shared, and I opened my heart, and I said, that really I did find it difficult to leave my own country, my family, my church. I really was struggling, and coming in Canada with 2 children plus a baby. At the time it was 3 months, so there was quite a lot. And sharing like that, suddenly, she really, I think, appreciated, and she opened her heart to herself so much that when we came back to this ladies' meeting, the other ladies started to open up and sharing their problems. And I understood afterwards, somebody told me that really they were a bit hesitant to share, because they thought that both of us, coming as missionary, we were, super spiritual, almost perfect. So they were afraid to open up and be honest and sharing. But after that, we had a great time with all the ladies, and I really enjoyed, serving there, and sharing and ministering and praying, with those ladies.
Yes, and so we unfortunately weren't able to stay in Canada, because we weren't able to get a permanent visa, and so we felt God leading us back to the UK, and back into secular employment, and into a local church situation. But we could say a lot more about those things, but that's it for now. And that's why we're passionate about mission, about world mission, and want to be involved, want to get many people involved in it.